Greetings to all of you. My name is Hitesh Sandwani. I'm head of Digital Contact Center, and I'm here to bring you a very exciting episode of Union Edge. This is on Ethics and Compliance Week. I'm joined by some very prominent people from the bank. Allow me to introduce Mr. Praveen Sharma, our Chief Operating Officer. We've got Mr. Basak, he's the zonal head. We also have Ms. Juna Roslin. She's our regional head, and she is one of the youngest leaders, women leaders for our bank. Let's dive right into our discussion. Thank you everyone for joining into this discussion. It's wonderful to have you over.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Hitesh.
I want to begin by asking you one question. What does compliance mean to you? Sir, we'll start with you and we'll go across.
Thanks, Hitesh. So, it's good to have a discussion on compliance and ethics. So, for compliance and the ethics for institution like bank, which is very, very important for all of us, play a very key role in ensuring that institution is running well and recognized in the eyes of all regulator, whether it's in DFS or RBI or SEBI or any other regulator. So in bank, when you deal with the finance, the culture of compliance is very, very important. And as a bank, we follow the practice that till the last mile, the importance of ethics, the behavior, the cultural movement is getting percolated. And that we keep on doing various meetings, various updates through webinars or through podcast on new rules or the new regulations which comes, we keep on updating them. And that's the way we try to promote the culture of compliance in the institution.
Wonderful. Thank you, sir. Sir Basak, sir, from your perspective, what does compliance mean to you?
So I think compliance as it is very important, at least in the banking sector.
Sure, sir.
And when we are dealing with the public money. So compliance, as I feel, is adherence to the regulatory requirement and internal policies to see that we are working within the legal and ethical boundaries of what is being prescribed. And it's very important that there is a transparency, accountability and integrity in all the operations to protect the bank's image and also to see that we have got a very good compliance culture within the system. That is what I feel is what I mean by compliance.
Great, thank you. Rosalyn ji?
See, when it comes to compliance, being on the in the region, it is not just business. I believe that business as well as compliance go hand in hand. It is not just adherences to policies, but it's a culture of ethical behavior that you need to be grooming yourself, one. You also need to be grooming your staff below, right? And also ensure that as you meet people down the line, that you are trying to drive this culture in your staff and see that these compliances are done, right? It's like an ethical behavior that you're doing that when nobody is watching you, it still you're being ethical. That is what compliance culture means.
So you have teams that are spread out within your own zone, and how do you then manage to ensure that this percolates down to the last level? How do you ensure that happens?
One is to have a clear set of communication with your staff in order to set these goals, in order to tell them what these policies are, what these guidelines are, right? And above all, it is leading by example. You tell your people that this needs to be complied, and thereafter they are able to comply with these measures. This is what we believe. It's not just laying down the rules. You also do it, and then you try to you put your people in that.
That's very interesting
Right.
perspective from a business standpoint. And sir, you've led business throughout your career with Union Bank of India. In your own environment, how have you ensured that from a macro level, the decisions that are made or thoughts that are generated on compliance or ethics are percolated down to the last level? How have you ensured that?
So I think so I will go by the fact that that important is how you percolate.
Sure.
Now, this is very important. The awareness is very important, that how you percolate what is happening in different area. You have to tell the people who are working under you in different business units, that what are the new updates in the policy guidelines, what are the new updates in the regulations. Now, this will prompt them to work within that policy guidelines. So, you need to train them. So, I always prefer, and wherever I address, I always speak on the compliance, I always speak on the regulations that is required to be followed. And it is a very continuous process, and it has to be done each time you go and interact with the people, you interact with the branches, you interact with the employees. Now, suppose today I have got around 3,200 employees in my zone. Now, I have to see that each one of us and each one of them understands the compliance and why it is required to be done. So, if you are compliant, then you will always have a better business perspective. So, people sometimes dissociates business with the compliance, but in fact both are in hand to hand, and we have to tell them that these two are complementing each other, and you have to go along with that. That is what I always try, and always I try to percolate in the field.
Thank you. Thank you. So, speaking of percolation and speaking of large network, you handle one of the largest network in your current role. How do you ensure percolation to the last mile? How do you ensure that people are aware, that awareness, that understanding of compliance continues to be reinforced?
See, enforcement of compliance can be done in two ways. But personally, I feel if you put anything to enforce to the team, it's not being taken in the right sense. So, my feel says that we always keep on guiding the team that what is the importance of it, why the compliance and ethics are important in your day-to-day business. And it is more important when you deal with such a large network, that the interpretation of the rule is same by the each staff. And in doing so, I take an example that because the customer service, we are in the service industry. If you are compliant, you are following the guidelines, your customer also will love to you, because that compliance culture will make you more transparent, more informed. So, your customer will get an update that yes, this bank is a more ethical bank, and they love to do the banking with you. And in that scenario, to ensure this, we try to percolate the each and every information in small pieces. So, we define the standard operating procedures for each regulation, that how this has to be read, how this has to be interpreted. In addition to that, what we also do, we try to build the control in the system, because when you do the large banking, and in a day when you do tens of crores of transaction, there is all possibility that few people may do a genuine mistake. Sure. To avoid that kind of mistake, we put the control in the system, so that my staff, while doing the transaction on day to day, the system is also protecting them that yes, this is not right to do it. That kind of controls are always we try to build, so that it is getting at the bottom, yes, this is the compliance required, and we cannot deviate from there.
So, moving on to customer protection and grievances. And sir, my question to you is, customer trust is one of the fundamental foundations of a banking environment and banking industry. How do we ensure transparency with our customers on services and the charges that we charge to the customers?
See, customer interest and customer protection, the transparent system is very much important when you deal in the service industry. and as a bank we are in the service industry. So the transparency becomes very important, and how we do as a bank, whatever the charges on various services, very first we update on our corporate website. We also communicate to the customers who are availing those kind of service if any changes are there in the service charges, or if any new service is being introduced. We go for the public announcement that these are the new services which bank has come out, and you can avail that. These services charges maybe while we are putting the charge to the customer, very well communicated in advance that on so and so date bank will be making or taking the charges of proactive communication. On each step while I am delivering any service, we see to it that the customer is getting a right communication and is clearly spelled out that this is the communication which is coming. Here we always feel that if any customer is not getting right information, or he feels that I have not got the service on which I have paid the charges, they are free to escalate or put their grievances. And to handle that or to put in mechanism, bank has implemented a grievance mechanism system, and various modes of communication has been enabled. So take a few. You can write an email, you can go to the website and log into the customer portal, you can refer that through a post, you can go to the branch and write that. Multiple channels has been enabled. You can call to the customer care call center and lodge your complaint. You can get a reference number, and this reference number anytime you can track what is the status of the complaint or the grievance which you have raised. Internally also, because it becomes very important for us that the right communication is going back to the customer in defined turnaround time. While we are solving the problem of the customer, which we feel as a bank that we have done the best, but as a customer may not be feeling good with that resolution. So we give an option to the customer that unless you update back to us that I am satisfied with the customer, the complaints did not get closed. We also give an option that if you are not satisfied with my customer, there are channels which has been opened, you can escalate the grievance. Right. So that's the mechanism which has been built in the bank, so that the customer grievances are addressed, and if any transparency is not there, they can raise that. If anything which they feel that this is not going right as per the requirement, they can raise the complaint. So that's the way which bank has built up a system to ensure that the grievances, the customer transparency is intact, and customer is getting a good service from us.
Right. So one associated question to you: how does banking ombudsman play a role in this environment?
When a complaint has been or the grievance has been addressed by the bank, you as a customer may not satisfied with my reply or my update or my resolution.
Right.
Then the regulator has made a channel that this kind of grievances can be referred to the banking ombudsman.
Right.
So if you refer that any grievance to the banking ombudsman, then banking ombudsman comes into the picture, and they ask us the input from us that what was the complaint, what you have resolved, and they also give their inputs. No, this has to be dealt with like this, or this has to be dealt with like that. So there is a channel for banking ombudsman complaints, and that is also linked in our case to the main customer grievance portal with the bank. That's internally we call as a CRM. So all customer relationship managing tool where all kind of grievances getting addressed, including the banking ombudsman. So that's consolidated structure has been put in place, so that any given point of time customer refers one complaint and it can be addressed.
And customer has multiple avenues to
Yes.
go to. Wonderful, sir. So from your area perspective, business perspective, how do you ensure complaint management and alignment to regulatory prescriptions. How do you deal with that?
Customer complaint and grievances is very important, and it has got the paramount importance in our banking parlance.
Right.
Now, what happens when a complaint comes, no? So, what we do? So, mostly in my zone, so we investigate properly, we assess it, and then we try to see that how it can be resolved, and then we implement those resolution process and try to see that these complaints are being sorted out. And even we also call up the customer, communicate the customer in their convenience, and we tell them, and then we actually resolve communicating the the resolution of what is we have resolved, and we do it with the satisfaction of the customer. So, that is what more important, that when a complaint comes, grievances come, it should be the satisfaction of the customer, because we believe in the customer service, and this is related to the customer service. Otherwise, as Praveen ji has said that once they are not satisfied with your reply, or they are not satisfied with the resolution that you have given, it may be escalated to the banking ombudsman. To avoid such kind of recurrence, we go on telling the people, because in this environment there are many digital fraud and cyber kind of things are happening. So, we have to be very protective, and we have to see the protection of both the staff and also the protection of the customer. It is a very important part to see, and we really work hard on those lines, and we want to see that it becomes a very good environment ecosystem for in Mumbai zone, that the people are aware of these facts, and customers are also aware of the facts, and we take a corrective steps at the correct time.
Wonderful, sir. Sir, Praveen sir touched upon a structure. So, in your own environment, in your zone, how do you distill that structure of grievance management? What sort of controls do you have there?
So, as we have got a proper escalations, right. So, there is a regional office, and there is a resolution team who is looking after the properly the compliance, complaints and the grievances. Now, those complaints are also escalated to us also in some of the complaints. Some of the complaints we track individually from our zone, so that we are aware that what resolution actually the regional office, the branch is providing, whether there is any deficiencies. Right. If those deficiencies are there, then we are actually going back to the customer, and we are also telling the branch head that this has to be done in a certain way, and then we go back to the customer and we try to resolve those issues. So, this is the way we do, so that it does not escalate to the BO part. Each of the things are available in the CRM, as Praveen ji has mentioned. So, anybody can see, and they can download, and they can take the cases separately, and individually they have to investigate properly. And when we see those customer complaints, so we have to be very careful that what kind of resolution or the answers we are providing, so that it should not be again a different complaint crops up from the answers that we are giving. We should be careful in dealing with such kind. It's a very, very sensitive kind of thing. We should be very careful in that.
Thank you, sir. So, ma'am, both Praveen sir and Basak sir touched on the thoroughness and also the structure around grievance management. In terms of efficiency, in terms of making sure that the responses go at a good pace, we are responding to customers timely, and there is no backlog of those complaints, how do you ensure implementation of that structure?
See, in my region, what we do is we go into the details as to why that particular complaint has arisen. Supposing it is a behavioral issue of a staff, we look at it differently. If it is a technical issue, we escalate it to our technical team, and then we are trying to resolve it. So, what we are trying to do is we are trying to analyze as to why that particular problem came, and it should not be repeated again, because in case if it is there beyond a particular 15 days or 30 days period, it gets escalated to a different level. Sure. We are trying to ensure that there is efficiency delivered by my staff, and repeated complaints would not occur, right. So, for that we are also looking at staff being trained continuously in order to improve our service. Because I believe that when service is improved, your business also improves.
Absolutely.
And we are also ensuring that compliances are taken correctly, right? And the other thing what we do is we also have staff meetings regularly, wherein we are telling our staff that what is the importance of customer service, that these complaints should not be arising. Also, we have client meetings. Every 15th monthly, on a monthly basis, we have meetings wherein we are talking to our clients and understanding if there are any issues, which can be, if there are any gaps in that, and we take corrective measures in that regard.
So, compliance environment brings in its own set of challenges, and one of the challenges that we all experience is you've got large workforce of 75,000. There are various demands on compliance that are required on and off. How do you ensure that those challenges, whether it's through audit observations or otherwise, or new regulatory compliances, how do you ensure those get implemented within timely manner?
So Hitesh, see, if you view the compliance implementation, always there is the say that compliance, if we do, then we'll lose business. But my perspective says that if you do the compliance, you will have a very good business, because these are the two things which goes hand to hand. And the thing which you have asked, that the network is large, staff is almost 75,000 plus. The interpretation of each staff of that rule will be different. So what we do, very first we define very clear, communicating the step by step, the standard operating procedure for each regulation to be implemented, and also try to build the system in that fashion that each step is taken care of in the system as well. Yes, certain times system may not be in position to check the behavior, because that behavior is more important at the ground level, and that we keep checking through our audit function. So here audit is also comes in very handy. When you define the each step process, this process is also available at the audit function. And when audit goes for it, whether it's at various types of audits are also there, whether you take as a concurrent audit, whether you take it as a quarterly audit or any regulatory audit. So those people also go with an information that anything which was supposed to be checked, these are the steps. Whether my team at the ground level has deviated from any step, and if so, where? So that we focus more, so that the culture of compliance is intact. People are following the compliance culture, and each staff is behaving the way it is expected from that compliance requirement.
Right.
It's not that the behavior should change, the compliance should change, that I will do 20%, I will do 80%. There is nothing called 20 or 80%, it's 100% compliance. So that ensures through SOPs, that ensures through various trainings, that ensures through, on top of it, the audit.
Right.
We also do the customer grievance which comes, that also we do the analysis. So we have internally built an analytics center, wherein customer grievances are also being read out.
Right.
We also get the complaints from call center. So there also we get the inputs that in which kind of area I am getting more complaints. Whether anything which is going wrong from there, any regulatory issues are coming. So my team is not following that. So that also gives me an input that okay, this area is little weak or things are not going right as per the expectations. So we tweak that SOP, that where things has gone wrong, and then recirculate that, reinforce through our training system. The grievance officers are being called on 6 months basis, that this is the methodology which you have to follow, so that the compliance culture, ethics are taken on top priority and is being followed in the system.
Lovely. So just hung on to your word that you said, compliance is complementary to business and not contradictory. I think that's wonderfully phrased. Any example of something that you would have implemented in recent past that you want to share with the audience?
So, take an example from any customer where things, say suppose the definition of their KIF. So, we
Right.
called as a customer information, the profile which we create. If your information is not there in the system or it is not proper, then your transactions are being monitored at the back end or by the regulatory bodies.
Right.
And if that regulations, because of the regulations and your information is not matching, you may get an alert which you may not like.
Right.
So, in recent times we have reviewed the systems, and wherever we found that this data is not proper, we are going back to the customers that please get updated this information. So that once this information is getting updated, you will not get unnecessary alerts.
Right.
And that will be helping me to get more business from you.
Right.
And that will be having me more connect. And in the recent past we are doing that, which
Right.
is helping more connect to the customer.
Right, right, lovely. So, sir, coming to you, and what Praveen sir said, a part of this information spreading or getting the information back from the customer is done by the call center which I represent, but also by zones and by the branches and customer connect. And I'm sure a lot of these things happen with operational pressure and timelines. You already have tons of business pressure. How do you then distinguish between what is required to be done from an operational standpoint, and how do you drive it? If you have any example, that will be great as well.
So, I think it is very important, because these regulatory prescriptions and regulatory requirements are very important for the bank to follow. And as Praveen sir has said, we decide many things and we formulate many things, but ultimately it has to be done at the ground level.
Sure.
That is the ultimate business unit has to see that and follow that and implement that. Now, basics are there, but the only thing is that how you implement. Now, as a zonal head, so I will tell you one or two many examples are there. So, one example is regulatory compliance has to be done as a part of RBI requirement, and so we have formulated how we did it. Now we have formed a team. So it's very recently we did it, which in my regions there was a team. There is a team at the zonal office, and actually we are following these strategies, and we have formulated these strategies that how to do it, what are the things we have to see, what are the things are very defined and we cannot deviate, and then we have actually made this team to follow, so that they give a proper direction to the branch. What happens, branch, if I don't tell the branch, they may be directionless. Now we have to keep them in a particular direction. Now this is my job as job role, that we have to, as a zonal head, I have to direct them and we have to advise them how properly it has to be done. And I tell you, within a very short time, we are able to reduce a substantial amount of that compliance, and we are doing, still we are doing it, and we want to see that that part is taken care of. And so it's like a you can say very strongly we have put in the message to the field that this is very important part and it has to be done. So I think people also understand, so that you have to inculcate that kind of habit, that kind of culture among the people. They should understand the importance of that compliance culture and that importance of that regulatory requirement.
Sure.
So because every day, every time you will say there is a change in the regulation, and you have to tell them what are the updates in the regulation. If they are aware of the regulatory changes, then I think they will follow them. So it is our duty, maybe in the form of training, maybe in the form of monitoring. So these things has to be done so that they are aware of, and I am very sure that people are aware of and they are doing it, but it has to be strongly messaged out in a different strata of the people.
Wonderful,
So,
wonderful. Thank you. And ma'am, sir touched upon communication and culture extensively and making sure that the message goes down. Now, there are various ways in which we drive business, and one of the ways is driving business campaigns, right? And business campaigns are stressful, people have to drive numbers and they are expected to deliver on those. It sometimes can happen that people slip on compliance in the interest of gaining business. How do you ensure that there is no slippage on compliance while the business numbers are being met?
Right. See, first thing is we clearly tell them that with, like I said, that along with business, compliance is also to be followed. So what we do is we have an open source of communication. We talk to our staff, tell them the importance that quality can never be compromised with quantity, right? It is the quality. We have to look at compliances. That needs to be in place. Apart from that, we are also having audits, like Praveen sir was saying, we have regular audits. We also train staff, like Basak sir was telling, so that people are aware that compliances also need to go hand in hand, and thereby business will also flourish. So it's basically to make a mindset in the employees or the staff that compliance need to be given priority, and it is a shared responsibility of not just one person, but each and every employee in the organization.
Right, wonderful. And ma'am, you've been with the bank since what, 2003?
Yes.
And automation has evolved over a period of time. Technology has come in and new tools, new forms, new ways of doing business. How has that helped compliance while you've been doing business since then and now?
Using technology, we see that we use metrics.
Right.
Be it in the form of measuring compliance, be it checking our complaints of the clients. These things we use technology so that we'll be abreast, and then we will be able to see that compliances are in place. So using technology, we have an edge that we are in the front, and then we are able to see that these compliances are in place.
Right. And so from your perspective, how has technology changed? And I know you've been there longer, since what, 1996? So
98.
98, I'm sorry. So how has technology evolved, and how has that aided your entire, not just business and also compliance? I'm sure it has evolved. Please tell us.
So Hitesh, we have started with manual operated branches. So we have seen what are the things there in the manual operated branches and how it has transformed when we have started with our Finacle.
Right.
And then of course there is a lot of changes, lot of operation in the technology, new invents had come and new technologies has come. This has changed the paradigm. There is a paradigm shift in the banking because of the changes. Because today if I think that I have to do something in a manual, it is not possible, because the volume of business that we are doing and the volume of transaction we are doing. So it is need that there is a technological upgradation, and that all banks and we are also doing. Now today there is again Gen AI. So suppose we have to see something on regulatory perspective. It is now becoming very easy. Tomorrow, it will throw many information about the things, and we can take a guarded stand on those issues, and we can resolve it very quickly. I think these are the technological advance which is helping us to change ourselves and change the mindset of the people. Now, if I take the case now, when we are actually doing the thing manually and what we are doing, there is a lot of change in the mindset of the people. Now Gen Z has taken over, and they are more akin to the technology, which is actually going to be very effective in the coming days. I think technology is going to will be a very informative and effective tool for taking care of the customer and also the all kind of compliances that we see today.
Praveen sir, I'll come to you. With 80% or plus of your career spanning into technology and automation in this area, how do you see automation evolving, and are you satisfied with the level of automation we have today that aids compliance? What are your thoughts?
So I see technology is playing a crucial role while you are doing the banking now. If you see the earlier, the bank customer was limited to the branch, and by implementing the technology, and bank has gone into the total core banking system, the customer has become the customer of bank. Now that's so the technology is helping each one, whether it's a bank or the bank's customer base, to grow faster. And once you grow faster, it always helps you that how to monitor it, how best use making that information, what are the new solutions, new services can be offered. And once you are doing that with the advancement of technology, putting more controls in the back end, so that your front end staff is able to do the banking with a more compliant way. System is not permitting you to do the mistake.
Right.
So that kind of change which has brought by the technology,
Right.
and this is not only doing the banking, it is
Right.
doing much more the automation. If you see, I relate that the automation, say suppose in the recon,
Right.
the earlier reconciliation was manual, now it is with the technology. The kind of transaction volume which comes, and with the help of technology, you are able to do the reconciliation faster. And that helps you to reduce your grievances. Because that is another compliance culture which you required. Because if I am not doing in right time, my complaints will increase.
Right.
So using the technology, more and more advancement features, identifying from where the transactions are happening, whether it's right or not, I am able to implement more compliance, more compliant systems, helping customers to do the more better transaction, and efficient and effective manner. The compliance culture is getting implemented just because there is a technology.
That's fantastic, sir. And just as the way we are evolving in our systems and doing a lot of automation, so are the regulations changing. There is a changing world out there. RBI and other regulators continue to give different guidelines, again depending on the environment that is out there, bigger world, right? How do you prepare the bank of the future, keeping the changing environment of regulations in mind?
Regulations based on the requirement, what is happening in the country or outside the country.
Yes.
Regulations will keep on modified to handle the risk of the systems of the banking system as a whole. And as a bank, it is our own duty to see to it that this regulation is getting reflected into the system while implementing it.
Okay.
And anticipating that what is more expected. And we see, because if you see in the past time, in the recent times, all the regulations are coming while they are focusing more and more on the customer base.
Sure.
More from the customer side. Whether you see the regulations of TRAI, wherein earlier the calls were coming from any number, there was no checks. Now the guidelines has come into that effect that you cannot make the promotional calls from any number.
True.
You have to be very defined structure in place.
Right.
And bank has implemented that.
Right.
With the defined time, you cannot do after 6, before 8. So
Right.
those regulations has been put in place, and we have implemented that.
Right.
Now the upcoming is where the 8-digit number has to be only used,
Right.
so that the customer is well aware of it, that this is the call from a bank,
Correct.
and he is not getting fall prey with the unknown number or the fraudulent number. So that is helping. And another the example where now customer grievances
Right.
is becoming utmost importance.
Of course.
So regulations are again coming towards that how the customer grievances are getting handled, whether the senior management is aware of the complaints and all. So we have also implemented the consolidated CRM,
Right.
where our entire customer grievances are getting consolidated.
Right.
and a view is taken by the senior management, the top management, that what are the complaints coming, how the analysis is going, which way more compliance has to be seen, whether something is need to be modified. So that is also helping. So that's the methodology and the procedure, while updating ourselves on new regulations which are coming or which has come, participating with the various stakeholders, that okay, this is something our view. So from there also we get some inputs that there may be some changes in the regulation, and try to prepare ourselves to adhere to that in time.
That's wonderfully explained, sir, how we adapt to change. And coming to you, Basak sir, adapting to change, how do you review your compliance reports in your area, and what are those key metrics that give you a flavor of how within your sphere of influence things are being managed?
So, compliance reports have been reviewed on a monthly basis.
Right.
But other things like internal audits, which is an important part of compliance, that we actually review on a weekly basis.
Right.
Because there are many, the metrics they are talking about, their key metrics is most important is adherence to the regulatory prescriptions and the guidelines. And also, we have to see that if suppose there are some breaches, compliance breaches are there, the number of compliance breaches that you have,
Right.
and then what are the corrective actions you have taken, and what is the effectiveness of those corrective actions. This is very important.
Right.
So I think there should be a feedback system also that we are doing.
Right.
That we try to find out that if some compliances are being done,
Right.
breaches are being made,
Right.
and whether those compliances are done properly, and if not, the percentage of non-compliances that are still persisting.
Right.
It's very important that each of the internal audit findings and observations are taken carefully and are being rectified.
Right.
So we take it very seriously, and we each day I try to find out from my team that what is happening in that area, and weekly surely we see that there is what is the position, what was earlier week, this week what are the changes, whether there is a reduction in those breaches, and if not, then what are the actions or what are the things we are going from our general office, what are the directions we are providing to the field. So it's very important that compliances and breaches are taken care of, and also we have to see the preventive actions and proactive actions that we are talking about. It's more important that if certain case something is happening now, each of as as a bank we are giving a lot of loans and sanctions to the customer.
Right.
So it depends upon what kind of product, what is the process, and what is the outcome. In such cases, we have to see that in all these three processes, we are within the regulatory prescriptions and regulatory guidelines and the internal policies of the bank. And if we can do that, means if all the branches and the units are following the sanctions and what are the requirement of the sanctions, documentation, other, I am very sure that most of the non-compliance part that we see, which is coming out in the internal audits, can be avoided, and more of a compliance culture can be built. Now, if I take the case of like last year, this year we have taken a call, management taken a call of My Bank, My Pride.
Yes.
So, My Bank, My Pride, what it talks about, that we have to, we all of us, the 76,000 people should be proud of this organization.
Right.
They should be aware of, the strength of this organization. Once you are aware of the strength of the organization and what is this bank is meant for, and then your activity, your culture, your attitude, your way of dealing with the customer, everything changes.
Ownership.
Ownership changes.
Right.
So I think this is very important that we have to inculcate that kind of thing in the people of the our 76,000 employees, and that we are doing very well.
Right.
Many town halls and many things top management is also doing, we are also doing, and even all my zonal heads and regional heads are doing to percolate that only particular thing that builds embedded in the minds of the people, to change the what we do today. And I am very sure that within 1 year time or 6 months you will see a sea change in the thinking of the people of our bank.
Wonderful,
Thank you.
wonderful. That's very assuring, sir.
Yes.
Chuslinji, just touching on what sir said and Praveen sir also covered, how do you implement speed in adapting to change? And it's very crucial when regulations are changing. You just need to make sure that the implementation is also as fast. So what do you do to make sure that there is speed in implementation?
First thing is to have a very clear set of communication with your staff, with your branches. That's one thing.
Right.
Second thing is to also see that this information that is delivered to the branches, it is being complied with. So for that, what we have is, apart from having a morning huddle, what we do is we communicate this to the region, and then they in turn will communicate this to the branches, that these need to be done, these are the changes in the policies, these are the guidelines, these are the new RBI guidelines that has come into place, and then we have to follow those guidelines. These are some of the things that we've been communicating to the branches. Apart from that, we are also looking at the conduct, the ethical conduct of the staff members, right? So we are looking at one part as the compliance of the regulations, agility in the staff, knowing the policies, delivering it to the branches, seeing that the compliance is also adhered to. For that, apart from encouraging ethical behavior and conduct, what we do is we also have a compliance team in the branches. We also have a compliance team in the regional office, wherein we are able to see that these compliances are ensured on a daily basis. This is how we are doing it.
That's really nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so we are now touching on the ethics and leadership. Ethics and compliance go hand in hand, and of course, with business pressures all around us, ethical behavior continues to remain paramount. It can't come at the cost of another. How do you see that getting implemented across your business arenas?
So I think business pressure would be there, because we are a banker. So our performance need to be seen, and so to perform you need to do the business. But because there may be many campaign, many pressure situations will come. Now I will just take an example. Suppose there is a file which is very important sanction has to be done, and there is a pressure from the borrower side that it has to be done very quickly. But even if there is a pressure, so I always advocate the people that there are something which is very important, that we should not forget, that the regulatory prescriptions and the internal guidelines. This is very important.
Sure.
And you have to see, if you go through the file, it takes hardly any time that you can see that, and you can find out what are the things we need to do before the disbursement, what are the things we need to do before the sanction. So if those things are taken care, so I think those things people should not forget before going for a sanction and disbursement. And once you do that, then you will never have a situation where there is a more audit observation, audit comments, comments and observations, and also many regulatory compliances are put on hold. So those things will not happen.
Right.
So I think most important that these two situations will often come to you. But in such situations, the regional office, the zonal office, there is a support system.
Right.
So we have to very sure that if some branch or somewhere that in a pocket there is a requirement that we have to support them. So we should extend their support and see that these things are done without affecting the customer service. So customer service is very important, but again this business and related things has to be done, but not at the cost of the regulation and the internal policies of the bank. That has to be followed.
I just want to add something.
Yes, sir, please.
On what Basakji has mentioned. But as a bank, we know that the business pressure will be there, is there, was there, or will be coming.
Continue to be there.
But how my system is built, how I have enforced that all compliances are intact. So two things. One, your systems has been designed in such a way that when things are taken, it's protected, it's intact. Your requirement in the each account, whether it's any liability account or an asset account, the required due diligence, the data has been captured and things has been done. So system itself is not allowing you to bypass.
Right.
Second thing, that if at all, if any unit, because it's large, 75,000, 76,000 people, 8,000 plus business units, the lot of things go at a time. So there is another function in the bank which is called as an audit function.
Right.
So there is an audit function who also ensures that what the defined procedures are there is anywhere it is getting breached, whether it's an intentionally or unintentionally. So there is another function which has been built in, that yes, this is a defined procedure which has to be followed while you are doing the volumes, but this is also need to be effective. The things which has been defined has been implemented and no bypass is happening. So these are the combination which goes.
Right.
Back-end system is there, where the back office teams are there who evaluate who is getting onboarded, whether that due diligence is completed or not.
Right.
If anything, we also have a system in place where the entire transaction monitoring system is put in place.
Right.
So how my customer has been onboarded, and immediately after onboarding, what kind of transactions are happening,
Right.
whether anything is getting were violated. So I can catch hold in time and no violations are in place.
Right.
So that's a system which has been put in place.
Like four wheels of the car working together.
Yes.
Very nicely said,
Yes.
sir. Thank you. Ma'am, do you want to add anything to this?
Yeah, see, when you look at, Sir was rightly telling that, see, we have stringent policies in place, right? Be it in terms of KYC, be it in terms of AML. We see that using technology, that certain things are weeded out initially itself.
Right.
So the customer who's getting onboarded, there itself we are seeing that it is complied, right? Thereafter, when the client is onboarded, there are sets of policies which my staff or the employees need to be following. Those checks are done in the form of audits, right?
Right.
Continuous monitoring is happening from both zonal office as well as the regional office levels. Also, we ensure that in time, regularly, continuous monitoring happens. Apart from that, what we do is we also do surprise checks of these branches,
Okay.
wherein we go to these branches, check if things are in place, including the regional head, the deputy regional heads, the staff from regional offices go. Mentors also go to these branches, because each of our, in our region, if you see, each of our mentors, they've been given 2 to 3 branches. On a weekly basis, they have to go to these branches and see that if there are any breaches in compliance, if there are any gaps that is there, where corrective action is required, immediately we pitch in and see that support is given. We're just not doing the check kind of a thing, like Basak sir rightly pointed out, that we are also giving them support in the form of staff also. People from my regional office also go there and support the branches. This is how we are doing it.
Very nice. Very
So,
nice.
Hitesh, I'm just
Ji.
add on.
Please.
So, I think, in our, as Praveenji says, with the advent of technologies, many alerts are coming,
Right.
So EWS alert, OTMS alert, and those alerts are very important.
Sure.
So how quickly we are resolving those alerts, because these are alerts which may be very significant.
Correct.
There may be some alerts which may not be that significant, where the answer is ready, and some where the answer is required to be given.
Right.
So I think those alerts are already embedded in the system, or it is throwing each day everywhere.
Right.
So how we are looking at those alerts, how my regional office is looking at those alerts, and how they are targeting those alerts and resolving those alerts are very important. So once we actually go through the alerts and make them sure that these alerts are nothing to affect the business, then we actually make a very good compliance in the system. So I think it is very important that we see those alerts and ensure that these alerts are being resolved as quickly as possible. This is I want to add in that.
That's wonderful, sir.
I will
Yes, sir.
just
Please.
add up,
Please. Yes.
30 more seconds. I see this, which I was mentioning, that bank has also implemented the transaction monitoring, and which is a very effective tool in the department. So they monitor each account wise transaction, where the spurt is and what the alert has to be generated, and that alert is being followed at the right level, that it has been addressed in right manner. If any account is not behaving the way it has to be, it can be taken for that, and then the enhanced due diligence will be required, etc. And that is helping us to catch the mule accounts also.
Right.
So based on that, our departments are able to catch hold the mule accounts in a proactive manner.
Understood.
So that is helping the bank in more compliance.
Right. Ensuring more compliance. Yes, yes. Got it, sir. Got it. Sir, as you know, Ethics Week is coming up, and it'll be nice, since we are all together and it's all getting recorded, it'll be nice to have a message from you to all our employees on Ethics Week.
So the compliance week, I really appreciate on that. And in case of compliance week, my message to the entire our teams, that there is say that compliance is first.
Right.
And as a bank, I would like to say that there is a zero tolerance in case of non-compliance.
Right.
So my message is very clear, that business has to happen, but with the full compliance. And if you see our customer base in terms of the first outlets, that is our branch, there are various kind of customer which comes. I have a customer base in terms of Gen Z, I have a customer base of senior citizen, but the requirement of each of the customer is different.
True.
And the behavior is utmost importance when you are dealing with that kind of customer base. The Gen Z may be interested to have a faster service without coming to the branch, but my senior citizen will be required that I will be visiting the branch, having an interaction, and then getting the delivered the service. So the branch has to adjust the behavior while dealing the set of people.
Right.
There may be a customer who may not be interested in digital channel. There may be a customer who will not be interested at all in the branch. So your behavior should be utmost importance. Your customer grievances, handling the customer, should be taken care in that fashion. So that's my message. Compliance has zero tolerance. No non-compliance will be treated very seriously. So my request to all the employees, take this week in a spirit and percolate down the compliance and ethical culture to the organization.
Thank you, sir. Zero tolerance is the mantra. Sir, do you want to add anything to that?
I think what Praveenji said is very important, that what is the commitment to the bank. And so, customer services and customers, bank's trustworthiness emanates from that ethics and culture. So if you are behaving ethically, then always, because there are various segments that you are dealing with, so it is not a single segment. So once you are dealing with different segments, your behavior has to be aligned with those segments. So if you are dealing with a aged man or aged people, your behavior has to be different.
Correct.
Then a Gen Z, that is Praveenji has mentioned. So I think important that we take care of our compliance, and our behavior as ethical, which should be very sound, it should be proper, so that whosoever coming inside the branch or the unit, they should be happy, they should be satisfied while dealing with us. That is why I want to add to what Praveenji has said.
Wonderful. Thank you, sir. Ma'am, anything from you?
We need to prioritize compliance. We need to prioritize ethical behavior, right? It's not just regulations, policies, guidelines. It is a commitment that we show to our customers, to our stakeholders, in fact, right? It's all of us put in together. And my message to them is, be compliant, give the utmost priority to compliance, because in the long run, this is going to build trust. This is in turn going to see that there is going to be long-term success of the bank. So we have to prioritize this, and this is a very valuable initiative that our teams have taken, that this being the compliance week, we really appreciate the team for taking up this initiative. Thank you.
We've had a very engaging discussion so far, and A discussion on compliance and ethics week can't be complete without having our Chief Compliance Officer, Mr. P.K. Samal, into the discussion. So, welcome to the discussion.
Thank you.
I just want to quickly ask you your message to the team, given that we are going into our Ethics and Compliance week. What is your message to the entire bank employees?
Okay, thank you, Hitesh for giving this opportunity. You know, we the unionites are a very important part of the Indian banking system. So, we are the 5th largest public sector bank. Therefore, what we do in Union Bank of India is not only important for all of us or our customers, it is very important for the entire banking system in the country. Given the present regulatory expectations that we have, whether it is RBI or DFS or SEBI or any other regulator, and we have been seeing the regulatory action today. The regulator is very strict, and we have been seeing multiple cases of penalties, business restrictions, advisories, etc. So, which is also coming to us. So, at the Union Bank, so we not only comply to all regulations, but also come and see that we exceed the regulations, exceed the regulatory expectations, right. So, my message in this occasion of Ethics and Compliance Week to all the employees of Union Bank of India will be, let us come together and build this bank as one of the most compliant bank, the most resilient, trustworthy and most customer centric bank in the system. That is our primary objective. So, that message I want to pass on to all our employees.
Thank you so much, sir. This was lovely hearing from you. Jocelyn ma'am, thank you. Sir, thank you. Musaq sir, thank you. And Praveen sir, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We discussed and we spoke about compliance and the week that's coming up. Thank you for watching this next episode of Union Edge podcast on compliance and ethics. Compliance isn't just about rules. It's about trust, transparency, and building a very resilient culture. Compliance is also not about contradictions. It's about complementing the business. Let's live the compliance week and make sure that we abide by it, not just for a day or for a week, but through the year and through our careers. Thank you.